on the Football Zone into another weekend preview on the channel. We're drawing towards the end of the Premier League season. It's the last weekend of the Championship season, so let's get straight into it. Starting off as ever in the Premier League with Leicester v Newcastle. Now Leicester, they are looking fairly secure in a top 4 position now, and to be honest it would take quite a bottle for them not to get in it, so I am expecting to do it. Newcastle are all but safe from relegation now too, so you could describe this as a bit of a dead rubber, but just to consolidate their place even more, I'm going to say Leicester will pick up a 2-0 win. Moving on to Ellen Road, and Leeds take on Tottenham. Tottenham, they still have a faint hope of reaching the top 4, you'd have to say. 5 points from Chelsea, so you never know. Leeds, they're mid-table now, which is why I can kind of see them having their foot taken off the gas a wee bit, and I can see Tottenham taking advantage under Ryan Mason, who you'd have to say has done fairly well since taking over. So I am going to say a 2-0 win for Spurs here, just to keep their faint hopes alive. Moving on to the next game now, and that is Sheffield United versus Crystal Palace. Of course, Sheffield United already long relegated. They're far alone at the bottom. Crystal Palace in mid-table. You know, they're kind of going all right at the moment. They're just very inconsistent as ever. And to be honest, they still really need to make a decision on Roy Hodgson, and I can't see that. I can actually see Sheffield United getting a result here, to be honest. I think it's the sort of game they're targeting. I'm going to say 1-0 to them. Moving on, and Liverpool host Southampton in the Premier League on Saturday evening. Looking forward to this one. Southampton, they've had a really disappointing second half of the season. But yeah, they just wanted to finish strong and kind of give a solid platform for them to build on next season. Liverpool, of course, top 4 hopes are still looking very unlikely, but they still do have a game in hand after that cancellation, so you never know. I can see them getting a win, however, I'll say 2-0. Moving on to the next game, Wolves host Brighton on Sunday. Wolves, disappointing 1-1 draw last time out. I think they probably would have wanted more. And Brighton, they're in 14th now after a solid few results recently, so that's decent enough for them. And they're another team that's just wanting the season to end strongly so they can build on it for next season. But I can see Wolves getting a win here. I do think they'll have just about enough quality, so I'll say 1-0. Moving on, and Aston Villa host Manchester United at Villa Park on Saturday afternoon. Manchester United, after all of those fan protests last time out, they do have a game in hand, but you know, they're still looking very, very much secure for that second spot, which is decent for them. As for Villa, they're intense, but you feel like it could have been a lot better if it wasn't for their struggles without Jack Grealish, which is why I'm going to predict a United win here. I'll say 2-0. And then Chelsea hosts travel to Manchester City on Saturday evening, and this is an interesting one. Of course, the Champions League final that we're going to see in a few weeks' time, which is interesting. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see which way this goes. I can see this being a bit of a damp squid, to be honest. Chelsea, you know, they just wanted to consolidate their top 4 place. City could all but win the title here. But I can see this certainly being a close game, and I'm going to say a 1-1, which would probably suit both sides, to be honest. West Ham host Everton in the Premier League on Sunday afternoon in the 4:30 kickoff, and this is an interesting one. West Ham, you know, it is looking increasingly tough for them to qualify for the Champions League, but you just never know, which is why they need to keep on pushing and just hope for the best, really. As for Everton, you do feel like their kind of home form has let them down recently, and that could be what costs them a top 4 place, which would be unfortunate for them, but I can see them getting beat here. I'm going to say 1-0 to the Hammers. Moving on to the Monday night football now. This is a Sunday night game. Arsenal host West Brom. Arsenal, they're going all right at the moment. Just kind of in nights where they felt like they've been for ages, just haven't really been able to push on against the West Brom side, who are virtually relegated now. They did look like they had that faint revival, but you know, it's all fizzled out now, and they'll be playing the Championship again next season. And I can see Arsenal getting a fairly comfortable win here. I'm going to say 2-0. Fulham host Burnley in the Premier League on Monday, and this is a huge game for Fulham. I think they're all but down now, but it's kind of just about extending it for as long as possible and trying to get out some season with some end of season pride and momentum going into the Championship next season, which I do think they will be able to do. Burnley aren't in the greatest run at the moment, so I do expect them to get a result here, and I'm going to say a 1-0 home win as they begin to prepare for life back in the Championship. But anyway, moving on to the Championship, speaking of it, on the last day, and we're starting off with Barnsley versus Norwich. Of course, Norwich were crowned champions last time out with a victory over Reading, and Barnsley come on into this game on a loss over Preston, but their playoff spot is already secured. So for Barnsley, I should imagine, especially with the intensity they play at, they'll rest some players. Norwich players, let's face it, they've probably been on the piss all weekend, so I can't expect this to be the finest quality game, but I'm going to say a scrappy 1-1 draw as always. But anyway, moving on, Blackburn host Birmingham in the Championship on Saturday, and for both sides, of course, there's nothing to play for. I do wonder if this will be Blackburn's last game under Tony Mowbray. Really, it's been a fairly disappointing season for them. As for Birmingham, they're just really starting to build something to the Bowyer, and they'll want to go into next season with some momentum. But I can see Adam Armstrong having a good game here, and I can see Blackburn winning 2-0. Next up, Bournemouth host Stoke in the Championship at the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth, they're already guaranteed a playoff spot, and it's just really about determining who they'll face, which will be interesting. But yeah, we'll see. I think they will get the win here, to be honest. I can see them making a few changes, but they'll want to go into the playoffs with some momentum without a doubt. So I'm going to say a 1-0 win for Bournemouth. Yeah, just a scrappy, but a win. But anyway, another team that's going to be in the playoffs come the end of the season is Bristol City. No, it's not them, definitely not them, they're dreadful, against Brentford, who are going to be in the playoffs. And once again for Brentford, it's all about securing their spot and going into with momentum. They've already secured third spot, which means they'll have a home tie against sixth spot, which is going to be Barnsley. So that'll be an interesting game. I'm intrigued to see that, but they'll want to go into this one with momentum. And Bristol City is just so poor at the moment. I can see a comfortable win for them. I'll say 3-0. Rotherham host Cardiff in an absolutely massive game at the Cardiff City Stadium. Rotherham need a win here to have any chance of staying up. But to me, Rotherham, they just look absolutely knackered at the moment, and I think a Cardiff side who have only lost 3 times under Mick McCarthy. Unfortunately, I really like Rotherham, but I think this could be a step too far for them, and I can see Mick McCarthy's side getting a win here to confirm their relegation. I'll say 2-0. But anyway, moving on, Coventry host Millwall at St Andrews. Coventry's last game at St Andrews, which I should imagine they'll be unhappy about considering their form there recently. But yeah, Coventry, they've ended the season fairly well, got out of any relegation worries, which I should imagine would have been considered a good season at the beginning of the season. As for Millwall, they've had a solid second half of the season after a disappointing first half, so I think they'll be relatively happy, and I can see this just being a drab end of season contest. I'll say 1-1. But anyway, moving on, QPR host Luton in a London derby at the Kian Prince Foundation Stadium. QPR, similar season to Millwall that we were talking about earlier. Yeah, poor first half, but they've recovered massively in the second half, and under Mark Warburton there's a lot of excitement that could be going around there at the moment ahead of next season. Against the Luton side, they're doing solidly at the moment, but I can see QPR getting a win here. I'll say 1-0. And then for the game that we've all been waiting for, Sheffield Wednesday travel to Derby. Derby, they just need a point and they're safe. Sheffield Wednesday, they need to take all 3 points. And to be honest, this is just a contest of nerves. I can see it being a drab 0-0, but to be honest, I just think Sheffield Wednesday have that extra bit of quality compared to Derby at the moment, and I think that will see them over the line. So therefore, I'm going to predict a 1-0 Sheffield Wednesday win, and with Rotherham's result earlier, I'm going to predict that Sheffield Wednesday are in the Championship next season. But anyway, moving on, Wycombe travel to Middlesbrough at the Riverside, and Wycombe, yeah, they need a miracle, unless they need a 15-goal swing to stay up, which, let's face it, isn't going to happen. But still, for Wycombe, even though they don't have a chance, but to mathematically have a chance on the last day, I think Gareth Ainsworth has done a really solid job. As for Neil Warnock, he'll just want to build ahead of a playoff push next season. I think they'll get a solid win here to cap off the season. I'll say 2-0. And moving on, Nottingham Forest host Preston in the Championship. Nottingham Forest, it's kind of been a blow part our season, but we could kind of tell that when Sabri Lamouchi got the sack. Chris Hughton's done a good job of steadying the ship, and Preston, they've actually done really well since Frankie McAvoy took charge, and it's got to the point now where I'd kind of be surprised if he didn't have the job next season. But I'm expecting this to be quite a closely contested game, and I'm going to say it's going to finish 1 apiece. Reading host Huddersfield at the Medeski Stadium on Saturday. Of course, Reading, being in the playoffs for so long this season, they'll be slightly disappointed they'll missed out, but they want to end their season on a positive against the Huddersfield side who've just been awful in the second half of the season. There was so much positivity in the first half of the season about what Carlos Corberán was doing there, but in the second half it just kind of not worked out. But yeah, I do think Reading will have enough quality here to end the season on a high, despite not being on great form recently, which is why I'm going to say a 2-0 win for the Royals. And finally, Watford, who of course are in the playoffs, promotion spaces secured and everything, host Swansea, who are just deliberating whether they'll finish 4th, 5th or 6th in the table. It should be an interesting one, but I can see Swansea resting numerous key players here. They've got quite a thin squad. Andre Ayew, we don't know if he's going to be fit for the playoffs or not, which could be absolutely crucial for them. So I can see them resting him, which means I can see a narrow Watford win just to end their championship so on a high. But anyway, guys, that's it for the video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Don't forget lots of comments down below. Follow me on Twitter, link in the description below for daily football news, and subscribe to my channel on screen right now. That would be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace.